Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's been a few days since you've seen me, but I have been really active on Twitter. So you want to hear all my sports takes throughout the weekend, especially around the NFL, please go give me a follow at Cody Talks NFL on Twitter. I'm always tweeting on Sundays and Monday nights and Thursday nights, so that's where you can definitely find me. But yeah, I'm back to making my videos this week. Tonight's will be the top waiver wire targets for week 2 and my top 5 streamable defenses. But yeah, let's talk about it this week. Go ahead and dive into the action after this amazing weekend that kicked off the regular season. Again, in case we have any first time listeners, how my waiver wire works, I'm going to give you my top quarterback ad of the week, my top running back ad of the week, my top wide receiver ad of the week, my top tight end ad of the week, and my flex ad of the week. Now, this is per Yahoo. They have to have more than 50% availability among leagues on that platform. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it and reveal the list. My quarterback ad of the week, yes, it's apologize tour for Cody towards the Saints this week. I was either really off on them, or maybe week 1 was a fluke and they end up being the Saints that I thought they could be. But as of right now, they look like a dominant defense and with a potential high potent offense with Jameis and Alvin Kamara. So I did list Jameis Winston as my quarterback out of the week. He's available in 57% of leagues right now. Against the Packers this past week, he only had 148 passing yards and the 5 touchdowns. So that's why he had a really good fantasy week. But you have to be concerned, like, all right, is he at least going to get more yards? Because you know he's not going to get 5 touchdowns every week. And he did add 6 rushes for 37 yards on the ground. This week they got the Panthers, and I think that is a good play for Jameis this week. The Panthers defense didn't do as much as I thought they would against Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was able to make some plays, and that game was a lot closer than I thought it should be. And I think if Zach Wilson, I think he's got a bright future, but he was able to move around the pocket and find guys. There's just some drops that he had to deal with. So I could definitely see Jameis having a good week against that secondary, and he might be a good streamable quarterback. I wouldn't look at him as a long-term answer for your quarterback position, but if anybody remembers, I was mentioning like Kirk Cousins, right? Kirk Cousins can be a placeholder for a Trey Lance, a Justin Fields, right? Until those guys get the full-time starting job. So that's how I kind of view Jameis coming out of this week. I'm like, okay, I could see myself maybe rolling with Jameis until Trey Lance or Justin Fields takes over the job. Now, speaking of those 2 quarterbacks, before I move on to the running back ad of the week, people might get desperate after this week. People will overreact. And that's one thing I also want to say. Yourself, don't overreact. Just like the people did with AMC stocks and Dogecoin and all that, the Bitcoin stuff. Hold the line. Don't overreact and just want to blow up your roster because things didn't go your way week 1. Try to be patient as possible. Obviously, if you got injuries like Raheem Mostert, Jerry Jeudy, you got to find a way to replace them. But if you can, be patient with the players you have. But with that being said, people might be desperate this week. Maybe they did lose Mostert. Maybe they did lose Jeudy, and they don't feel like maybe they should be holding on to Trey Lance or Justin Fields. If one of those guys are dropped available in your league and you're holding on to like a Kirk Cousins, a Jameis Winston, and some other maybe placeholders that at the quarterback position, go scoop them up for your bench because they're going to take over that starting job sooner than later. And then the running back ad of the week for me is obviously, this is a really popular one. You guys have probably heard this multiple times at this point, but it's Eli Mitchell, the 49ers running back who had a big game on Sunday. He's available in 92% of the leagues. He had 19 rushes for 104 yards and a touchdown. And they are playing the Eagles this week. They were kind of a little tougher against Mike Davis last week, but I think he can definitely be productive, especially when you're in that Kyle Shanahan scheme where it doesn't matter who the running back it is. It seems like whoever it is, they're going to be able to produce. It feels like Kyle Shanahan could scheme up for me to run at least 20 yards in an NFL game. But the thing I want to make with Eli Mitchell though is I wouldn't honestly blow all your fab on him. I wouldn't overspend on him if you're in one of those type of leagues, because here's the thing. I think I think this is Marcus Grant's term. Everybody knows like Bellatrix, right? You never know which running back to play. Well, there's the Shanahanigans, as I believe Marcus Grant coined. You might not know whoever much running back to play every week, because yes, it was Eli Mitchell this week. Raheem Mostert's season is done. That came out just a couple hours ago. He announced on his, I believe, all social media platforms. So it's going to be Eli Mitchell. They're going to start Trey Sermon, who was that surprise inactive on Sunday, and they still got JaMycal Hasty. Now, I think Sermon's going to cut back into this on some given weeks. And as you can see with Mitchell, you didn't even see a target in the passing game, so you wonder if he's going to offer that type of upside as a receiving back. But he's definitely worth the ad. But this is what I'm going to say too, though. People are probably going to drop Trey Sermon. He was inactive, 0 points. I could see that happening. So if somebody maybe outbids you for Eli Mitchell and somebody drops Sermon, go pick up Sermon. Because I could tell you, it could be like Eli Mitchell dominating the rushes like this past week, or all of a sudden like both of them are 50-50, right? So if anybody gives up on Sermon, also consider adding him, but definitely Eli Mitchell is a good ad this week. My wide receiver ad of the week is Sterling Shepard from the Giants. He's available in 61% of the leagues. I just like the targets. It does seem like Daniel Jones does like to pepper him as much as possible. It seems like he's Mr. Reliable in that Giants passing attack as of right now. This past weekend, he had 7 receptions for 113 yards and 1 touchdown. He had 9 total targets, so that's where you like that. They are going against the football team, so it's a little bit tougher defense. But we did see Justin Herbert was able to move the ball throughout the day on that team, and we saw Keenan Allen have a good day. So I think he could have a decent night on Thursday night, but he's definitely worth adding to your bench, and he's a good week play anytime anybody maybe gets out with an injury, or if you are looking to fill in bye weeks later on, or if you do need that help in the wide receiver room, maybe you lost to Jerry Jeudy, Sterling Shepard would be a good pickup for you this week. My tight end out of the week, it is Jared Cook. I've been trying to tell people in the summer, I wasn't the biggest fan, but then when you looked at his stats from the past 3 years, it was definitely promising. He was entering a good situation where he could potentially see the third most targets in that passing attack. He's available in 74% of the leagues. This past week, he had 5 receptions for 56 yards on 8 targets. The tight end sweet spot for me on targets is 7 to 10. If you can get 7+ targets every week for a tight end, that's really good, because all you need is 5 receptions. So if you're in a PPR league, he got you 10+ points this past week. Jared Cook did. So I think he's definitely worth picking up this week. Maybe even if you're streaming tight ends this week. They are going against the Cowboys. I know it's Rob Gronkowski. I'm not comparing Jared Cook to Rob Gronkowski, but Rob Gronkowski just torched the Dallas Cowboys last week. So maybe that translates for Jared Cook this week, and that's why he's my tight end ad of the week. My flex ad of the week is Christian Kirk from the Cardinals. He is available in 87% of leagues right now. This past week against the Titans, he had 5 receptions for 70 yards, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. So talking about being as efficient as possible on those targets. Now, obviously, I would like to see more of a target load for Christian. He is in a loaded wide receiver room. That's the word I'm looking for. So you do have those concerns, but I think he's definitely worth, after this past week, a bench ad. I wouldn't play him this week. They are going against the Vikings. If Joe Burrow had a good game against him, he might be a good streamable option if you are desperate for a wide receiver play this week. But I view him as an ad. Let's see where this role goes. Let's make sure Rondale Moore is not going to all of a sudden see an increased target load. Maybe all of a sudden AJ Green gets more involved. But let's see where this goes. And if he starts seeing more targets, he starts being more consistent, maybe Christian Kirk is finally going to have that breakout year, and he's going to be a part of a high potent offense throughout the year. But he's definitely worth a bench ad. And if the matchup is right, you can play him on any given week. So let's go over this again. My quarterback ad of the week, Jameis Winston. My running back ad of the week, Eli Mitchell. My wide receiver ad of the week, Sterling Shepard. My tight end ad of the week, Jared Cook. And my flex ad of the week is Christian Kirk. All right, let's go ahead and move on to one of my favorite things I like to talk about is your top 5 streamable defenses. Again, just like the waiver wire, this is going to be per Yahoo. They have to have. I made it a lot harder on me this year to pick the teams you can stream. They have to have more than 50% availability in leagues. And I do want to go ahead and apologize. I was definitely wrong on the Jaguars last week. That's on me. That's on me. I'll admit I will get things wrong, but to be fair, I think every single analyst got that wrong. So I don't feel too bad. I did go 3-1 in my fantasy leagues, my main fantasy leagues this year, my money leagues. So, and I had the Jaguars defense and all that. So I hope if you listen to me and you play good Jaguars defense, I hope you were able to overcome that just like I was. So with that being said, let's go ahead and reveal the list. Top 5 streamable defenses. My number 1 this week, I'm going with the Saints versus the Panthers. The Saints are available in 67% of leagues. That defensive front performed a lot better than I thought. I thought the middle of the defense might be a lot weaker, and that was definitely a strength last week. Now, they did lose Davenport because of injury, but they still got Cameron Jordan, and they still got their first-round pick that can help replace Davenport until he comes back. And they got Demario Davis in the end. Marshawn Lattimore was great last week. He was pretty much locking down Devontae Adams. He is week to week though. He had, I think, thumb surgery today, so that is something to note. But they did trade for the cat from Bradley Roby from the Texans, and I think he comes off the suspension this week. So he's going to come in the lineup. Paulson Adebo played pretty good last week. So I think that the Saints are going to, looks like as of right now, I mean, they just shut down the MVP of last year and one of the best offenses. And this week they're going against the Panthers. And the Panthers are not the Packers. Sam Darnold is nothing close to Aaron Rodgers, right? So I think this is a situation I'm willing to gamble on. I could see them keeping that Panthers team to a low score because the Panthers, I think they only scored 19 points against the Jets last week. So I like it as a low-scoring affair. I like that they could create pressure on Sam Darnold, and there's some potential turnover opportunities. My second one, now this is one you might be like, I don't know about this, Cody. The Saints just lit up the Packers, but I'm going to list them. I got the Packers as my second on the list. They are available in 78% of the leagues. It's because they're going against the Lions. Now, I will say the Lions were able to put up some points against that 49ers defense, but there were some turnover opportunities where I think it was Drake Greenlaw. Did he get a pick 6 or he got pretty close on that? So Jared Goff could throw a pick at any given moment. And I just think that this could be a good, solid bounce-back game for Green Bay. It's a Monday night matchup against the lonely Lions, and I just see this could be a overall, winning cures everything type of game for the Packers. Can't you just see like Aaron Rodgers is lighting them up, the defense is getting sacks, forcing turnovers. This is like a get-right game for the Packers. So that's why I'd be willing to gamble on this and see if I can get the Packers defense this week. My third one is the Bengals against the Bears. The Bengals are available in 99% of the leagues, but I think they showed some good things against that Vikings offense last week. They weren't perfect by no means, but they were able to create pressure throughout the night, throughout the day. They were able to get some sacks and force some turnovers. They punched the ball out. I think they forced 2 fumbles. So there's that potential. And then you're looking at the Bears, who showed nothing promising on Sunday night from their offense. It was very vanilla. Andy Dalton still the quarterback. Now there could be the revenge game factor, Andy Dalton going against his former team. So you kind of wonder about that, but I'm just like, you know what? I could see Andy Dalton stinking it up too. And this finally might be the game when they bench him for Justin Fields because of his play. The Bears' offensive line is not only they were banged up heading into this year, they lost Jason Peters. I think they lost somebody else too. So their offensive line's banged up, so I can see them stuffing the run and getting some pressure and potentially creating those turnovers. My number 4 streamable defense of the week is the Giants against the football team on Thursday Night Football. I think this is going to be a sneaky good matchup to roll out the Giants defense. It's a divisional opponent. It's on a short week, so these Thursday night games are weird. Sometimes teams they're not really ready, and usually they can be low scoring affairs. So if you're in a league where that affects your defensive scoring, that's why I kind of put the Giants on the list. But the Giants still have a good defense themselves. So I think they're going to be able to frustrate Taylor Heineke. So Taylor Heineke is the quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick is out for like the next 6 to 8 weeks. I know Heineke had that good game against the Bucks in the wild card game. He was all right on Sunday against the Chargers, but I'm not the biggest believer that all of a sudden this guy is going to be the quarterback, right? So more than likely he's going to throw some turnovers, especially if they can create pressure on him. So I think the Giants are a good defense just because I feel like they have a high floor this week. I don't know how high their ceiling is, but I think they have a high floor because I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I don't think Heineke is going to be anything spectacular on Thursday night. My last streamable defense of the week is going to be the Seahawks against the Titans. The Seahawks are available in 90% of the leagues. Now, I will be honest, this one does somewhat would be nerve-wracking for me to play the Seahawks defense just because the Titans are still like a potential high potent offense with Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Julio Jones, and AJ Brown, my dude. Yeah, but the Seahawks, as you can see, I'm a Colts fan, so I watched that game multiple times at this point. The Seahawks defensive front was a lot better than I expected. They were able to, dominate the trenches against the Colts. They held the Colts to under 4 yards per carry on the offense. They were getting pressure on Carson Wentz all day. They had like 10 quarterback hits and 3 sacks. And then you flip it over to the Titans against the Cardinals. Chandler Jones had 5 sacks himself. Ryan Tannehill got hit a bunch as well throughout that game, and there was turnovers happening. So, and this is in Seattle, right? So you got the effect of the 12s up there at drew a blank on their stadium name. Let me just keep on moving. But yeah, I think the Seahawks could be a sneaky good play because their defense is a lot better, definitely than what I expected. And then on top of that, the Titans are coming off a very rough Sunday on offense, so I could see the sacks continuing there and some potential turnovers. So again, my top 5 streamable defenses: Saints against the Saints against the Panthers, Packers against the Lions, Bengals against the Bears, Giants against the football team, and the Seahawks against the Titans. So yeah, those are my waiver wire targets and my streamable defenses. I do want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, as always, hit that like button. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel so you can keep up with all my latest content. And then, as always, I like to plug the Prospect Encyclopedia. It's a project, a great product that I've been a part of over the last 2 years. It's something that you can use throughout the NFL season. You can go to prospectencyclopedia.com to order it. The whole PDF's for $15. You can get an individual team PDF for $1, or you can check out the Buck section for free and then see if you want to make a purchase of any of the other PDFs. But yeah, again, thank you for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow for my starts and sits for week 2 in fantasy football.